professor there since almost 2 years, right? And in the Department of Nuclear, Plasma, and Radiological Engineering. Prior to her engagement at UIUC, she was a postdoc at Stanford. Prior to that, she was at the University of Waterloo in Canada, getting her PhD degree. Her research interests include radiation detection, instrumentation for molecular imaging, computational problem solving, and quantitative characterization of biological processes. She received several awards for her work in recent years. And she's going to be talking about translating high-resolution radiation detection technology to head and neck imaging, design, instrumentation, and performance.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here today. So then a little bit about my background. I'm an electrical engineer with a passion to make instrumentation. And I really enjoy to make the detector because I think that we can customize them and then we can kind of dream a design and then being able to like really fabricate and build them. And then you're kind of not limited with what is commercially available. So then what I'm doing is mainly like fabrication of the detector. So we go to like clean room and then we build detectors. And then I do instrumentation too. So then here today, like I wanted to tell you kind of like a story of one of the projects that we have some result because we started, I started in 2017. So then this was kind of when I started, I had some projects in mind, but then I wanted to see which one is like more useful. So then we have Carr Hospital, which is like kind of the closest hospital to our university. So then I went there, and then I was able to, like you're gonna laugh at me because I went there. I'm new to the city, nobody knows me. I just went there as a person, and then anybody who is having this white coat, I'm saying, are you a radiologist? I have some project. I was wondering if you have 5 minutes to talk to me. And then people, they gave me so many dead looks because they are really busy. They don't have time with a crazy person like me. But eventually, I had one radiologist, one oncologist that they were interested to whatever that I was saying. So then they were kind of interested in this project, and kind of that became our first project. So then I got 3 PhD students, and then you're gonna see like who work on what, but then this head and neck was the first project. And then it's kind of interesting because I want to build the stuff, but then at the same time, I want to make sure that we are able to, you know, like have a good speed with technology and then not competing with big companies. So before starting, I wanted to see which like disease I want to focus, and then I kind of get interested to head and neck because I think, let's say 4% of like cancer type are head and neck, so it's like it's still significant enough. So I think that even like 1%, you know, if they have the problem, is like significant enough to investigate. But then maybe that was the reason that not that many research they were focusing specifically for instrumentation in this area. So kind of today I'm going to talk about like basic of PET, positron emission tomography, in case you are not familiar, and then talk about how when I was just thinking, you know, like which like breast or chest or head and neck or brain, which area I want to focus on, I pick head and neck, and then talk about the system design, and then some kind of, this is partial system level characterization that we have. So basically, I'm in nuclear engineering department, this is like nuclear medicine. So positron emission tomography is kind of like a molecular imaging that you're having a positron emitting radioisotope attached to the molecule of interest, and then when you inject, you wait when the uptake is happening. So this positron is going to annihilate with some electron in surrounding tissue, and then 2511 keV is going to be emitted. And then I kind of like this one because I worked on like ultrasound and X-ray, but then I feel like the PET, because of this 511 photon that they are back to back, is just like from the concept of physics is really interesting. So this is like after this 511 keV photon that they are almost back to back, they are hitting the detector. So now our job is to like detect those ones. So then that's why kind of the energy resolution become important, because you want to select those 511 keV photon, not the one that they like scatter in the detector. Then how you pair this one, because at the end you have a list mode of information. How you know which of these two detectors they are those coincident photons is from the timing information. So that's why the timing information is important. And then, so the position of them obviously is important. And you are interested to have like an X, Y, Z position, so that you have like a better understanding of where is the position. And then in this mode, if it's not time of flight PET, so you know that the source of the radiation is coming somewhere across this line. And if you wait enough to get a statistically enough line of response, then you are able to reconstruct the image. So basically, for positron emission tomography is really important for basically diagnosing and then staging, treatment planning and response to therapy in head and neck cancer. So the problem is that like head and neck is an area that the tissue are very thin and then they are close to each other, and then it's going to really affect how the doctor are deciding for which path they want to go. So, but the whole body PET, the spatial resolution is 4 to 6 millimeter. So in the best case, basically, is 4 millimeter. I'm talking about like PET GMI, which is like a recent detector. And then, because of that, we are not able to detect the lymph node that they are smaller in size. However, like this is really important to be able to detect them. So here I have some example that like this image show a patient with supraglottic squamous cell carcinoma, and then it is important because kind of here is the thyroid cartridge, and then if it's involved thyroid cartridge, it means that it's like a stage 3. It means that it's a stage 4 and is not resectable. But then if it doesn't, then it means that it's a stage 3 and it can be treated by surgery. So, but then the problem is that you see that like this blur in the airway is just like you're not sure where is the boundary. So that's why having a better spatial resolution to define this boundary is very useful. So here I have basically from kind of 2015, I was spending like any time that I had extra in the reading room in radiology department, because I wanted to see what is like the real problem that they are facing. So then here are some quotes that I have from radiologists. That here is again like similar is a supraglottic squamous cell carcinoma, and then here the doctor is saying I can never tell if the activity in patients such as this is along the surface of the vocal cord or has invaded deeper, because you see again, like because of the spatial resolution is kind of blurred. And then here is another example, and then in this basically in this image, so we have one that is obvious is a lesion, but then is this one. This is a 5 millimeter region of interest, and then you see the SUV activity is 2.9. And then the doctor is saying that I don't trust this SUV, but this is really important because if this lymph node is cancerous, it means that they have to do the surgery and then they have to take all of the lymph node. But if it's not a lesion, then maybe they can do like radiation therapy. So then kind of is really important because it's not just treating the cancer, the person may lose their vocal. So like it's kind of affecting the quality of life after treatment. So then we were thinking that by kind of accurately measuring those boundaries, we kind of provide with physician with more the to choose the treatment option, and then detecting a small lymph node is not good. I cannot claim that this is good for early cancer detection, but then it's really good for early recurrence of cancer because you are able to detect the lymph node as they are smaller. And then by having that, we are able to having a better survival outcomes and preserve the organ function. So this, like, just focusing on a specific organ is not something new because we are having dedicated PET system. Here I have a dedicated brain system, so this is like more common that different research groups have. Here I have, maybe there are 8 or 10 of them, different places, like commercial and like research. But here I have example of 4 that you see they are building like kind of dedicated PET system and then to get better spatial resolution. And you see that here most of them, like it was good if they were able to build it in a way that covered the head and neck, but their geometry is not optimized for head and neck problem. So, and then here I have some example of the dedicated breast PET system, so that show that like they do research on a dedicated PET system. And then here is interesting because see, they have 2 different geometry. One is like a flat panels that, there are kind of 2 panels, and then you compress the breast, it's like kind of like tomosynthesis. And then this one is like, like the patient is lying down, and then it's like a cylindrical. So, and then here they are able to get better spatial resolution. So then now we wanted to design something that is dedicated for head and neck. And then like the first choice is that, okay, so what is going to be our geometry? So then obviously, like in order to make it like modular, so I knew that I would like, it's much easier to go like flat panel, kind of like box shape. But then now is it like 2 or 3 or 4? And then so obviously it makes sense from angular coverage that 4 is going to be better. But then like what is like the cost, performance, and then like benefit? So like this was something that we did a simulation to investigate. And then like for example, if you want to go 3 panel, if you consider this is y-axis, so what should be exact angle of this one that you have the best sensitivity? So, and then we find out that one thing is that if you're increasing the length of your 2 panels, so you can get similar characteristic performance like the 3 panels. And then the other thing is that we have to like take into account that this is something that we want to build, and then we want to take it to the hospital to do some measurement. Other than that, if I'm claiming that like having a dedicated system has a better like performance outcome, or like has a better way of like letting radiologists to decide, but then if you don't do like any pilot study, how you're going to verify these claims. But then there is something that we have to take into account, that the hospital is something that, the time is really important, workflow is really important, and more importantly, here we are like dealing with patients, and then so it's really important that this is something that is like designed with empathy, something that, like when you show to the patient, the patient is already suffering, we don't want to add to their suffering. So the 2 panel from that point of view has this advantage that you don't like blind the sight of the patient, and then it's really easy in the workflow because you don't have that much adjustment. So basically what I was envisioning is something like here, because usually in the normal, this is the whole body PET system in the hospital, and then they have this head holder that patient like lie down, and this is for just kind of fixing their head, and so then they do the scan. So what is happening right now, because they need better performance in head and neck region, they call it head and neck dedicated bed position. But let's say if in each bed position that they move the patient to get the whole body, let's say they do imaging for 10 minutes, Then for this head and neck dedicated, they wait for, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes. And then they try to, in the image reconstruction, like change the field of view. So then we kind of hope that this system is going to replace that time, because we don't want to add more time to the workflow. And then if we are having a system like this, so then this is going to be 2 panels that is coming to the side, and then like hopefully like this system is going to be compact, and then we know that for a portable system what should be something that they already handle, and then they bring it and then they adjust it to the side of the patient, head of the patient here. But then there is one problem, one kind of big problem here, and it's something that is good for us, because see this now, the geometry is not complete, so totally in the image reconstruction we are going to suffer from limited angle problem. But then this is good because in the literature, limited angle problem is a common problem for CT. So here we are not doing like solely like this dedicated system. This dedicated system is going to be helpful for the whole body. So then we can use that information as our prior, and then there is like a really good paper which is for prior image constraint complex sensing, and then this is, you can see this is like a simulation study without regularization, because if you consider these are the panels in here, bottom and top, so parallel to the plane we have good like a spatial resolution, but then perpendicular we don't have. But then now if we are using like the whole body, as if like imagine that you have a whole body, poor spatial resolution, now you have a limited angle, but good spatial resolution. Now if you blur the good one and then like subtract it from the whole body, if everything was perfect, like there was no motion, so basically as if they are going to be the same, and then if we just like penalize our like image reconstruction regarding that, so we are going to kind of improve our limited angle problem. So this is something that one student is working on to see how we can improve. So then now we know that, okay, for like the workflow and then patient comfort, we want to go with 2 panels. So but now how we can improve the sensitivity of the system, because already, first of all, we are going to go to low spatial resolution, which means that now per pixel we are going to get less number of points. And then the other thing is that now we are having a limited angle system, so then definitely we have to come up with some ways of improving our sensitivity. So we decided to go with cadmium zinc telluride. So then, because like conventionally, most of the PET system, they are using scintillator nowadays attached to SIPM. And then if you are using like different ways, you are able to get like depths of interaction in scintillator. So we pick CZT because like CZT has really good energy resolution. For positioning, for depths of interaction, you don't have to do that much, because all you need is that you can read from both anode and cathode, and then you are able to basically know, as if since the mobility of electrons and holes are different, that is going to work for our favor, and then we are able to get like a depths of interaction information. And then there's 2 pathways here. If we want to go with CCT, is going to be a pixelated or a cross strip one. So then again, the beauty of like the cross strip, like the advantage of that is that, you know, like if you want to stack them up, specifically since we are dealing with 511, so we want to have a high intrinsic detection efficiency. So then for CCT, we need 4 centimeter to have 85%. So then now we are buying this like 4 centimeter by 4 centimeter by 5 millimeter, and then we want to stack them on top of each other so that they are kind of edge on, as if like imagine the source is coming from this way, so that they see like 4 centimeter. And then when you are stacking them up, for the readout, you are able to use this flexible circuit that is like 50 micrometer thickness, and then connected your to your readout. Because for the pixelated one, if you want to do the bonding, either you have to do bump bonding, and then now it means that you're having more space to stack them up, or you have to be very creative in just trying to find all the traces from here for all the pixels to outside. So this one is going to a little bit degrade your energy resolution, because now you're having this cross strip that add to our capacitance, but then it's going to be a very compact system, and we will see. And then for now that is cross strip, you have to design what value you should pick as the width of your anode and cathodes. Okay. So this is something that is interesting, because you are interested in both energy and time. So then, if we use a small pixel effect, which is like a small pixel effect, what it says, it's saying that if your pixel is small, the charge when it's interacting inside your semiconductor, it should travel to get too close to the small pixel so that it's differentiate, because when it's far, as if it induce a charge across all the pixels. So then, from one point of view, you say, okay, that is good if I use a small pixel effect, because now if here electrons have higher mobility, so your holes are the bad one that will create problem. So you can say, okay, if I make my anode for basically reading those electrons, a small pixel effect is good, because now they are not going to see when the holes are getting trapped. But then from other point of view, you don't want to read your timing information from there, because now your timing information is going to be affected, because you would as soon as the interaction is happening, the signal goes high, and then you get triggered for the timing information. So the way to go around it is that you would say, I'm going to do my readout from the anode, so that you do my energy resolution from the anode, and then you do, you still read your energy from the cathode, but then you say cathodes are going to be wider, and then I do my timing from the cathode. So then here, the way that we decide is that 8 cathodes, 5 millimeter, and then 39 anodes, their pitch is 1 millimeter. You see, actually, I made it stick here. So this red arrow, it should be for the narrow one, and they are anode, and then this blue one, they should be a steric electrode. So that you say, if there is anything that is between them, I do a voltage that shapes the electric field so that they steer them towards the anodes. So, okay. So then we were just saying that we are using CZT, because now this CZT has one disadvantage, because we were talking about the charge that they are moving. So definitely it's not able to compete from time resolution with scintillator, because it's not the speed of light. So, but then why? We are insisting. So we were saying that, okay, we like the time, energy resolution and positioning, because now you don't have to consider that I have to cut the crystal within 1 millimeter and assemble them together. You can just really easily deposit metal with whatever shape that you want on top of sensitive. So then you have, and then you have this positioning information, which is really easy. You just say the cathode to anode signal ratio is correlated with where the depth of interaction is happening. Because let's say that if you're having basically, if this is the thickness of your device, so if you're having here the interaction is happening, so then you get a good signal from your electrons. But then since the holes have longer distance to travel, then this signal for cathode is going to be smaller. But then if the interaction is happening here, so now electrons, since they were faster, they don't have that much problem yet. So then they get absorbed, you get a decent signal, and then holes that they were the slower ones, since they are really close to the cathodes, they are good. So then kind of in this scenario you get signal. So then you see that the amplitude of, if you say cathode to anode ratio, is correlating with these steps of interaction. So then for here, we are getting the XY positioning, then from which anode cathode they get triggered, and then the depth of interaction from the ratio of the signal. And then we were saying that this is good because, you know, you have heard in your radiation detection course about Compton scanning and then Compton imaging perhaps. But then here is like even nicer because in Compton imaging you have a cone. But then here I was saying that I like the physics of it is because since you have 5 elements that they are back to back, now see that you have, let's say, assume that one side is a photoelectric interaction, the other side is a Compton scatter followed with a photoelectric. So then now, since your job, let's say, for this is to find in the multiple interaction photon, even to find the first interaction. So then now, let's say you have this vector and this vector. From the Compton kinematic, you can calculate basically, put in the Compton scattering equation and then find that theta e, which is the angle that if the incoming photon is coming in this direction, then you know get a scatter and change direction, that is like theta e. And then if you consider this as a vector A and a vector B, like the dot product of this, it gives you an angle. So then now you can say, let's say that for first word is perfect. We have perfect energy resolution, perfect positioning. So these two are literally the same thing. One of them is coming from Compton kinematics, one of them is coming from this vector positioning. But then if you consider, if you go wrong, let's say you pick this one is the first interaction, so then there is going to be like a difference between these two. And then you can say that this is a direction difference angle. You define a threshold and saying that basically if the board was perfect, you could say if they are equal, you accept. It means that you figure it correctly, the sequence. If they are not equal, it means that something is wrong. But since the board is not perfect, obviously, so you have an energy resolution, which is going to propagate error for your theta E, and then you're having a position, a spatial resolution that is going to propagate error in your theta P. So then it means that now you have to define that threshold that you say, okay, if like theta E minus theta P is less than a specific threshold, then I pick. And then kind of here is really this algorithm or this way of looking at it is in our favor, because if it was pixelated, it was good because at least you had two scenarios that you have to pick. But remember here, since we are having process strip, we are having 4 scenarios because we have to pair the correct point for us is a correct pair of anode and cathode. And then this way is worked very nicely because even if your energy resolution and positioning is not that great, like if you pair them wrongly, like really, you know, the angle they are going to be wrong. So then that is kind of working well. So here is showing that if we do simulation, let's say that if previously at Stanford I was working on a small animal system, so then the detector that we had, it was like from 2006 because for the cadmium zinc telluride, so previously if you want to have a good detector, it was Bridgman method for fabrication. So that one had a low yield. And then like this, they were all detector in 2006. So then the detector themselves, they had 4 to 6% who will have maximum energy resolution at 511. And then basically, so when I add the system that today I'm going to talk about, that is going to add you like some electronic noise because the who will have maximum is the square root of like the squares. So, but let's say that if you say that I know my energy resolution and then I know my spatial resolution, you do the simulation, you blur every interaction with this like energy and spatial resolution, and then you apply the algorithm, you are able to see if you just pick the photoelectric, which is the traditional one, the sensitivity of the system is close to 0.2, and then if you include those, if you don't put any threshold, you are going to improve it, like when I say MIPIs is, I mean like those multiple interaction photon events, then you are able to improve it 5%. So this is because the algorithm with that scenario of the energy resolution, it has 75% accuracy. You can say that now I'm going to use sensitivity, but then define a threshold that gets to 90% accuracy, okay? And then the contrast to noise ratio is improving. Here again, the black one shows you just the photoelectric. Then here it shows the green one, which is 2%, that is the current system that we are building at Stanford, at UIUC, and then the red one is the one that we were building, the green one is the system that we built at Stanford. So in order to, now we have this detector, we have CZT, so kind of another point of having the process strip is that if you have a 4 centimeter by 4 centimeter, it's kind of a large volume. So you're going to have like so many channels, but process strip has less channels, so then you are more open to the choice of your ASIC. And then the good point is that I was talking about bridge and network. Over this last 10 years, the CZT growth has improved a lot, and then now they are using the traveling liter method that has really high quality, like Bridgman, and then has high yield. So then because of that, the price of CZT is dropping, and then I'm hopeful that actually in like future 5 years it's dropping even more. I remember that I started buying them for $4,000, and then now I buy them for $2,000. So here we are using Rena ASIC as our ASIC, and then it has 36 channels, and then it has basically everything that we read in radiation detection. So it has the preamplifier, it do the pulse shaping, and then it does like a DAC that you can adjust your trivial level, and then it does the pulse height measurement, and then it does the timing. So I tell you how it does the timing. So here you can see basically what is the inside of the Rena ASIC. So then it has a shaper, and then it has a shaping amplifier that is faster and slower, and then you have to just read the ABC value of the signal. So then we have a FPGA here that we can configure everything here, and then like send the ABC value. So then the way that it does the timing, you are able to provide basically a sine wave to the ASIC, to one of the channel, and then you are able to, you have to design in your board a way to create, like either we can do 245-degree phase shift or 90 basically. The point is to create a sine wave and cosine wave. And then whenever a trigger is happening, the amplitude of this sine and cosine wave is red. Okay, so that we are going to talk about that later. But then just remember that you are having a sine wave that will create some sort of 90-degree phase shift, and with each interaction you're going to read that one. So now I was talking about we have 39 channels as anodes and then 8 as cathodes. Okay, so how we are going to we have basically 39 plus 8 is 47. We have 36 channels for ASIC. So how we are going to align that one? This is something that while we were designing this similar kind of CZT system at the Stanford, we kind of think that is intuitively obvious that, okay, so you are going to alternate between them. So what we did previously, it was saying that, okay, this is the detector. We know that each detector has 2 Rena ASIC. So then we do, let's say the red is Rena 1, the neighboring channel is Rena 2. Rena 1, Rena 2. So the cathodes was more obvious because since this was an edge-on detection, we knew that the first cathodes are going to have, like the exponential attenuation, they're going to have more channels, and then you were thinking, okay, so we have to have 1, 2, 1, 2, okay? But experimentally, I could see that this doesn't give us the performance that we are having in our data sheet. And then this time, so I was basically fortunate that we had money to spend to just design this to see what should we do. So we were thinking about, okay, let's do a simulation. Again, we are going to get like the interaction, pretend as if like what's going to happen, like blur them as energy, and then see which way is better, because each time we are going to include not the dead time of the CZT detector, and then in this system we want to get every little bit of improvement anywhere to at the end improve our sensitivity. Okay? So then, and then when we do the simulation, it turns out that if you do your anodes like half-half, definitely is better. So then you could kind of now think about it this way, that when they are alternate, so then if you have a slightly charge sharing, so then it means that 2 RINA for each interaction is going to go to the dead time to process. But then now, because like in CZT, the average of interaction is 7 millimeter. So you could say kind of maybe if it's going here, there is a chance that like it's in this region. So now it means that if you're reading from one RINA, you have the other RINA free for like the other like interaction. So this is something that we did the simulation, and then now we are building it to experimentally show the result to compare that. And then for here is just the scaling of the system, and then you see that when you put them on top of each other, you are able to like stack them very like compactly with the high field factor. So the average human head in US is like, you could consider it now as a cylinder with 20 centimeter diameter. So then if we want to get something decent, we need to have a panel to have like 22 by 22, okay? So then for that, each of these detectors are 4 centimeter. So then imagine that as you have 5 columns of them, and then you're gonna stack them on top of each other. So now, you know, like I'm going to talk about from the system level what you should do to not kind of screw the high performance of if there is a detector that nicely working. So because at the end, what we were talking about, what we are interested is the image. For the image, in order to be good, we wanted to have really good positioning, good timing, and then good energy. So then now I'm going to talk about that. And then for energy resolution in this system, there is something that even is more important for us, because remember we were talking about we are going to include the multiple interaction photon events, but then now if the noise floor of your system is high, let's say that for example we designed a system, so we had 150 kV. So then it means that all those multiple interaction events that they are below this energy level, we are not able to read them. So that time we are not interested, we are just interested in 5 or 11 kV photon is fine. But now we really want to gather as much information as we can, and then that's really important for us to have really low noise floor. And then you can see kind of here what are the things that contribute, because again you get your ASIC in the data sheet is written, oh, for example, let's say 200 to 1,000 electrons, and then you say, oh, great, so that's good. But then when you are building stuff, it just add up. In this scenario, I'm just showing you that we have the CCT detector. Remember, the CCT detector have those now that crosses the flexible circuit. And then this blue one is just like the board that provide the biasing. So it's just like low pass filter. And then the RINA board we were talking about, it has the RINA ASIC. It has basically some circuit in order to create that 90-degree phase shift. It has the ADC and then the FPGA. So now for the RINA board, which is our kind of our base case scenario, this is what we have from the ASIC. And then now I call this one intermediate board. So then they are including they are contributing the capacitance. And then we are adding the CCT detector module. Again, we are adding capacitance. When we are applying the high voltage in the intermediate board, now we are having like the dark current of the detector. And then when we are adding the steering voltage, we are adding dark current. And then that UV signal that I asked you to remember for timing, you have to make sure that that is not creating any problem. Because let's say if your UV signal has, like some fluctuation, maybe it could trigger your channel. That we are going to talk about that more. And then here, so then now, like recently I got one detector, which is like recently is manufactured and then tested is 2%. So then we are hopeful that basically my NIH grant get funded and then we purchase more of them. What I show you is just a detector from like past that it was like the detector level was 4 to 6%, because when you purchase the detector from the company, it comes in different grading. So then we had some kind of the broken one that we could get cheap. So then they are not like the highest grade. So I just put this here because I wanted to show you that first of all, you have to definitely, when you get the number of detectors, you have to check each one of them, because from detector to detector, each symbol is showing like kind of a different detector. And then from here, from 0 to 40 is that 39 channels. And then the other thing is that like the channels in the middle, they are better, because as you go towards the edge, you have like the edge, and then the string electrode is not like the shape of the electric field is not the same. So this is for the energy resolution. So the spatial resolution is really straightforward, because as long as you are defining your electrode, that size you should be able to like theoretically half of that. But here we are doing a point spread function, which means that we are having like the point source on a 3D stage walking in, like the point source itself has 250 micrometer diameter, and then you are just moving it here, I guess 160 micrometer remove, and then you are just getting the information. So then this dashed line, if you include the charge sharing, so as if you are just reading from multiple channels, and then if their sum is 5 element kV, you consider one comes to the higher energy. And then you see that both of them are 0.76, 0.78, considering like the 250. So then for the spatial resolution, you don't have a problem. And then for the depth of interaction, I forgot actually to put. So then if you are having 5 millimeter, you are able to resolve between 0.5 to 1 millimeter easily. So then now what is,
Yeah, so this is, so what is the isotope you're looking at? Oh, it says sodium-22. Okay, so my understanding of PET is that a lot of these isotopes, usually the physics of the actual interaction usually has some residual Q value for the positron that's on the order of a millimeter. Is that factored into this or no?
No.
Okay, so this is on top of that.
Basically, because it depends of, are you talking about the positron range?
Yeah, positron range.
Yeah, so no, because it's not like that bad. Because imagine that if you are having FEG, like F18 FEG in the human, is just like within less than even 1 millimeter. And then here we are having like the point source that is going to basically interact with the surrounding area and then go to the detector. So then it's not going to be definitely what we are measuring is like all the effects included that we are measuring here. So like the most important part for us here, it was like to trying to find the detector that the diameter of that point source is the smallest. And it's funny because we got one point source that's like this one, they had some hump around them, and then I couldn't figure out what is the reason. And then at the end, we send it to manufacturer, and then they did some imaging. So then, because for the point source, imagine that they have like this plastic, and then they just insert, like 1 drop of isotope. But this one, after the imaging, they figured out that there was 2 drops, and then you could totally see that effect in our point spread function. So here we are talking about the time resolution, and then for the time resolution, imagine that this red signal is that sine wave, and the blue one is the cosine wave. And then whenever I was talking about the interaction is happening, we are reading the amplitude of the sine and cosine, and then now you can see that each time that the interaction is happening, you just have one point in this spot, which is like sine ABC value and cosine ABC value. And then if you do this enough, this is like creating a circle that the frequency that this is wrapping around itself is dependent on the frequency of the sine wave that you choose. And then how big it is, the diameter of it is defined by the amplitude of the signal. So this is kind of neat way, because now you can increase your amplitude to get better resolution. Because how we are talking about the time resolution, we say that if there is this, let's say UIBI is one interaction, UJBJ is another interaction, and you are talking about that, like the difference between, like as if 2 pi is the frequency of your signal, so now and that delta t is correlating with your delta time, okay? So that's clear? But then I just wanted to tell you this, that yeah, this is nice in theory, but then when you are having a system that has so many channels, instead of having a nice circle, it's going to be something like this, and all of this is going to contribute to the noise in the, the time resolution. But then the good point is that you have really good optimization course here. So then this becomes an optimization problem that you say that, okay, I'm going to do, like this is my delta measure, this is delta t that you're really interested, and then now you have to think about the physics. In this example, what are the things that contribute to the noise? If the drift, based on where the interaction is happening, will take time for the carrier to move. There is a delay because every pass of PCB or cable has some fraction of nanosecond delay, and then that UV that's you see here the effect of it. And then if you just do that, include it, basically this is like a really rough optimization, is 28 nanosecond. So we are still working on it, because like if you are having one detector, you are able to get 10 nanosecond. So now as if so many detector, like they are lumped together, and then we are having 28. We know that we have to do better like calibration, and then we know some sort of noise that we are working on. So then basically here are picture of my students, so Mohan and Young Sok, they are working on the hardware, and then Heng On is working on the image reconstruction. So these are the 3 students that are working in the undergrad, that they are interested in research in this area for the head and neck system. And then we are having some basically security application that Greg and Zheng, they are working. Thank you so much for your attention, and then I will be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
For defining the initial problem, you mentioned that you talked to several specialists. Were there any other methodologies or factors that influenced finding the original problem, and what was the timeline for that?
What the original problem you mean, like to just
defining it to the neck and head tissue. What allowed you to focus on that initial problem?
Like how we pick like the head and neck,
Yes.
you mean? So I think that really I talked to multiple like hospitals people. Definitely they were interested in this one. But then like I always think about, you're gonna laugh, that okay, if this is like an important problem, perhaps somebody think about it. But I think one of the reasons maybe most of the people, they are focusing on brain, because there is so many research for brain, that they can do like Alzheimer and then like the brain study. So head and neck, I think it was like something that it wasn't big enough for somebody to investigate, but there's something very important for us right now because the technology is improving so fast that hopefully if this is going to be like 8 years to be built in the lab, perhaps it's useless. So that's why we are trying to like scale up the system like as soon as possible. I'm not sure, is that answer to your question? You know, basically I can tell you that talking to like as many radiologists that I could, this is something that they have, they generally, they say, yeah, head and neck, the boundary of the lesion or like basically the SUV value, which is like kind of how much activity is in the region, the resolution of the whole body is not good enough. But I wonder why like nobody has done it, but then maybe it was like for us to do it, you know?
Any questions? I have a quick question. So on the system, so on the PET system, I guess, what's the best resolution or could spatial resolution achieve today? So you have this example of 1.5 millimeters.
So yeah, as what the student mentioned, basically at the bottom of it, we are going to be limited by positron range. So then here it's going to be 500 micrometer.
That's the best one.
Yeah, because like let's say that when you have the interaction of 511, so then the basically the interaction inside the material, we're going to have some electron hole per cloud, and then you are not able to go lower than that unless that you are creative to just do some sub-peak survey. But then I'd say that that's kind of like the range of that you are limited. But I haven't seen anybody talk about like 300 to 500 micrometer because definitely that energy is useless.
Yeah. No, well then, thank you very much.